Welcome back, everybody. I'm G. This is G. I'm Watt, and we got a heavy episode to talk about. Episode 5, Blood Calls Blood. This was a really heavy episode. It starts off heavy. It's really kind of somber. It's sort of the funerary rites for the Aes Sedai and all the people that got wiped out in that fight in the last episode after that big battle. And it was nice seeing them bury everybody. Like they buried uh, the king of Gelden that was fighting Logain. Uh, so that was nice to see. You know, they were honoring their enemies as well. You know, it wasn't like they didn't want to fight them. you know, and so I thought that whole sequence was pretty great. And Moraine had one of the best lines out of the show. You know, they keep dropping these beautiful moments from the books to us. And the quote where she says, "May the last embrace of the mother welcome you home." That's a Borderlands quote, and we've seen the stills, so we know that we're gonna hopefully see the Borderlands before the end of the season. So yeah, that was pretty heavy. That whole scene and the whole episode is really kind of moving. But that quote that just knocked it home. And then all of a sudden, it goes through we have our opening cut scene, and then it goes right to this little scrawl that says 1 month later. Like, so I guess that was how they were going to shorten the book, just 1 month later. And all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we're at Tar Valon." Like, oh, what happened on the road? Like, do we get to see any of that? Are you going to talk about it? Like just 1 month later, and all of a sudden, they're just there. But I will say that seeing the White Tower in that picture, that was pretty impressive. It looked pretty good. Um, and I like the little conversation, the little conversation between Moraine and Lan, where he's talking about Nynaeve, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Moraine's just like, well, she eats at the fire every night over at the Warder's Fire, and this and that, and kind of hinting that there's something going on. And Lan just totally plays it straight. Just, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Just keeps riding on. I thought that was this nice, well put in little moment. It kind of showed their nice relationship, because they care for each other, and no matter what Lan tries to hide from Moraine, she can feel it through the bond, and you get to see that later. And I have a little explanation of kind of how I think that whole end played out, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Patience, guys, patience. This is not going to be as long as the last one. That last one was just so deep, and this one's really heavy and deep, and it's got a lot of good spots, but those spots really just play out really sort of well. And then it goes from their little conversation. Then we get cut to the boys. We get Rand and Mat, and all of a sudden, hey, they're on the road to Tar Valon, and it shows Rand standing there next to this cool little stone with all these symbols on it. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. We'll come back to that way later. Just Easter egg that I'm pointing out for later on. I'm pretty sure I know what that is. So cool. All right. So Mat has this really shit moment. Sorry to, but he really does. He shoves the little kid. And I mean, I know he's getting edgy. We know the oozes bother him, and it's, yeah. And, Lan did say touch nothing. And what did Mat do? Mat took a dagger with him. And he's pointing it right at the Fade. So yeah, it's definitely affecting him. And him shoving the kid, that was hard to watch, like, especially for Mat, because he loves kids. And you saw him, like, after he had his little Gollum moment where he freaked out and then was back. He had that sort of little look with Rand that, sort of that the mutual understanding, like I'm kind of freaking out, and Rand had that. Like we told him in the last episode, it's like, I'm here for you, man. But it's heavy. That look was heavy that he gave him, and like I said, this whole episode, there's a lot of weight in this episode, and it weighs down. And speaking of weight and weighing down, right after this weird little moment with the kid, Rand's like, hey, what's that mountain? And as soon as he said mountain, I felt like a little kid at Christmas. And they walk up that beautiful little like rock, like, I don't know, outcropping or whatever it was. That beautiful little thing they walked up on, which was like right off the road. Like, so I don't know, but whatever. I thought it was really cool. They just walked up in that beautiful view, and then it goes up to Tar-Valon and Dragon Mount. And I wanted, right as it holds on that scene, I wanted to like just screen cap that, because that shot right there, that's like something you'd have in like a gilded frame on your wall as like an oil painting. Like, holy freaking screenshot right there. Oh, it's just gorgeous. Just, and they know because they bring you up on it, and then it's just like, and yeah, we're just going to let this sink in for just a second. Okay, moving on. It was just like, oh, you didn't even need to pause it, because they just sat there for like, and just let you go. Yeah, you like what we did? And I think the fans, I think this fan right here, I like what you did. I don't think it's what I saw in my head, but I don't care. There's a lot of that going on. It's some more of it in this episode, which we're going to get to in a second, but that's not here yet. But in other episodes, there was some stuff that wasn't in, one way it was in my head. And you got to forget your own headcanon for a minute. So that being said, I really loved Tar-Valon, and I loved the bridges coming in and seeing the other stonework and the small like outlying villages over the bridges. Like, oh man, like I went back after I watched it. I went back and I just sat and I looked at it like frame by frame by frame. I highly suggest you go back and do it, because man, like these guys that did like the CGI and the modeling and all this for all this stuff so far, like Shadar Logoth when we saw it, Tar-Valon, like, man, like I can't wait to get to these other cities and just like, oh, I just want to bask in them. I'm just going to like start screenshotting all of them. And I'm going to do at the end of the season, I'm going to do my favorite shots clip. And because I don't put stuff from the show in my review and deep dive videos, I don't know. I just like talking about it. Like, we watch the show, but I like having the discussion about it afterwards, and let your brain do the work. Remember it, and then go back and watch it again. But I am going to do my favorite shots, like my favorite screenshots, my favorite cinematographic moments. So I'm going to do little clips and screenshots of all my favorite stuff. Probably like my, I don't know, maybe top 10, because there's a lot of them right now that I've got notes on that I'm like, oh, this one is great, and this one is great. So the Tar-Valon one, holy crap, with Dragon Mount in the background, that's my favorite one yet. Yeah, like by far, so unbelievable. Okay, so we fast forward to the boys, and now they're in the city. And this whole thing where the lady comes up and offers Rand that random street food, like, okay, they're in Tar-Valon, so I'm sure it's probably pretty good. But like, I just laughed, and the only thing I could think about was Conan the Barbarian, when Conan and the thief that he rescues, they get into the city and he's eating like everything he can find in the other guy's just like revolted, and like Matt's all like drawn in and completely sickly right now. And every time he looks at Rand, it just reminded me of that scene. Like I'd love to do like a side-by-side comparison of it, because it's so humorous. Like I was just waiting for him to say, do you even know what that is? Because he asked me, he goes, what is that? And he goes, I don't know. Oh, I just thought it was awesome. And I don't know if it was like an Easter egg back to the original Conan the Barbarian, but I just thought it was so funny. Like, new kid, big city. Hey, wow, cool. Because like Shadow Logoth, that was big city, but it was dead. Now they're in Tar-Valon, and it's like, woo, they're like at the circus, just like, oh, let them loose. Go ahead, kids. And so like Rand, his face the whole time is just like, it's like a kid at an amusement park. Oh, it was great. It was great. And then we get, I called it way back. And this is the third time, and it's confirmed that it's Podden Fane. It's the whistle that, it's his thematic thing. Like, and we're going to hear it, and it's going to like cue that he's coming. It's like, I don't know when you were a kid, if you ever went and you heard the orchestra do the Peter and the Wolf thing, or you ever saw the Disney's Peter and the Wolf. Each instrument plays a different character, and they have a different thematic theme. And same in Star Wars, like when Darth Vader comes in, it's dun 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 dun. Like, that's the Empire coming. It's a musical theme added to a character. So we had it when Podden Fane first wheeled into town. We heard it when Matt first woke up in Shadar Logoth. And he does see a shadow before he finds the dagger. And then we see Podden Fane watching the boys go up, and you hear the whistle. And so is he just there by coincidence? Is he like a stalker? Like, stalker's a really negative word, because like people are really sensitive nowadays. Like people get offended at everything. Like, I even have to put a disclaimer at the back end of my video. Like, I'm sorry if I offended you. If I did, I'm sorry. But yeah, stalkers, it's a really negative word, man. Can like, we're gonna say Podden Fane right now maybe is obsessively shadowing our young fellows there. We'll just leave it at that. But I did like the musical theme with Podden Fane, and I called it. Like, I knew it, man. The first time I heard it in the second episode, like, I was like, oh, hey, wait a minute. And then went back after a couple times, and I rewound it a few times and watched it, and it was right on. It was right on. A couple of the guys that I watched this with are musicians as well. We were all in a band together once. And we all sat down and we're like, ooh, hey, I know what that is. And, it's like, and, now it's confirmed. Musical theme. Love it. Love that they're putting that into the show, because you can do so much with that. And because we don't get monologues. So I think having like this nice little musical theme, yeah, I think that's really, really cool. I think that's a great idea. And we see Matt having a rough time once they get into the inn that they're staying at. And he's having a rough time. And they get into the talk with Tom, and and he's like, you don't know that. And, he's really freaking out. So whatever he's got going on is bad news. And then we cut into Nynaeve, Moiraine, and Lan in the chambers. And this is a phenomenal little scene. And it's got so much great exposition and like character exchange going on. Oh, so good. So she comes in, and basically Nynaeve's like, yo, F your politics. I don't care. Moraine's trying to lay down sage wisdom. Hey, this is not the Two Rivers. These ladies have years of experience at maneuvering and politics, and they're all basically vipers, and they have their own agenda and all this. And, oh, they're good. Oh, they're good ladies and their sisters, but watch out. Watch your back. I thought that was just awesome. And Nynaeve's just like, yo, yeah, whatever. Yeah, you tell me to be a novice? If I'm as powerful as you say, fear me. And I was like, that is my girl. This whole scene was great. And then Lan just kind of is like, I'm gonna leave you ladies to it. And he pieces out. And then I really think the really outstanding moment of the scene happens where Moraine really is like, breaks down and starts relating to her like, hey, look, I was where you were at, and I know it's weird. And when she says that your life will never be the same, and you see the look on Nynaeve's face, and I think the fact that she was so just brutally honest with Nynaeve, because that's Nynaeve. She's like, she doesn't hold back. Like, she pulls no punches. She says, look, I'm about to knock your teeth out. She really means she's about to knock your teeth out. Like, it's not a figure of speech. It's not like, I'm about to kill you. No, when she says that, watch out, because she's about to kill you. Like, for real. She's very frank, very straightforward. And that Moraine is so on point with her and just like, hey, I was here. I was scared. I didn't know what the heck was going on. Would my life ever be the same? And she's like, no, it's not. And then she basically is like, look, once you finally embrace this, you're going to find out that this is awesome. She really does lay it down on her. So this was, and then when she leaves, like this moment right here, just in Nynaeve's face, it was like, it really showed that first moment of, okay, I don't fully trust you yet, but okay, maybe I don't hate you, and maybe I don't think you're the devil, and okay, maybe, and because she leaves on the, and of course, I'll bring you to your friends when I find them, because she had these questions, and the Aes Sedai are going to maneuver, and Moraine says this to her in that conversation. She's like, look, these bitches are going to maneuver on you, and they're going to try to play you. And then she was just brutally honest, and then says, yeah, look, man, I'm totally going to help you find your friends. Okay. Like, I told you I would. Like, I got you, and then when she leaves, it goes to that shot of Nynaeve, and it's just, that whole moment was just so good. The character exchange in this whole episode is great. The interplay between the characters and how you see them. Oh, hey, what's going on here? Oh, okay. Well, I just had like some weird little message popped up there. Okay, but anyway, we're going to continue on. So it cuts from our awesome Nynaeve Moraine moment, and it goes to this really funky encounter with the Tinkers, and then all of a sudden the White Cloaks show up, and Perrin's questioning the validity of their thought, because the dogs are eating the deer or whatever, and isn't that hypocritical? And that's actually kind of a line, that sort of talk is like right out of the book. So that was kind of a cool nod to the book, even though I was like, yeah, but that's like, even Aram points it out. He's like, yeah, but that doesn't make no sense, man. They're animals. That's what they do. And then, it comes off with, hey, there's violence in all of us. It's just understanding and accepting it and this and that. So he kind of just plays it off. But Perrin is, I think it's been a month, and I think Perrin might be, starting to twist up the hair. Maybe he might be falling for the way of the leaf out of guilt for what he did. He did, kind of admit it to Egwene right before they rolled in with the Tinkers when she was telling him it wasn't his fault, and he said it was. So they're in this conversation, and Egwene comes running up, and everything starts getting cheery, and then hey, look, we're gonna crap in your pie. Here comes Mr. Aemon Valda and the White Cloaks. Yeah, because they're real fun. Holy crap! Like every time this guy's on screen, I want to punch him in the face. And Abdul Salah, I like, this is nothing against you as a person, buddy. Oh my God, you make me hate you. You make me hate you every time I see you. And this whole exchange with the Tinkers, like, I like the way they're playing the Tinkers. Like, I'm really digging Isla. Like, I dig her a lot. Like, I thought she was okay in the books, but the way they're playing them for the show, man, I'm digging them. Like, I thought that arm crossing thing was going to be totally like corny as all get out. Like Like, make a peace wall. Like, all right, okay. And I was in the military, support the troops, even though it's the stormtroopers, support the troops. I was in the military, so I laugh at the Tinkers. Like, I'm sorry, this whole moment right here is, I could sum this up with, I would much rather be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. And Eamon Valda shows the Tinkers what's what. He's like, oh, really, what are you going to threaten me with? Your peace chain? And just freaking backhands her, bang. And, they played it off pretty well. Like, and then more of the Tinkers come piling up. And while Aram scoots Egwene and Perrin GTFO protocol out the back door saying, hey, we're going to go to another village. Let's get out of here. And, and then Eamon Valda's got this really great line. Oh, great. Yeah. The way of the leap versus the way of the light. And then they just start cracking the crap out of people like they're the Brute Squad from The Princess Bride. Thanks. Eamon Valda, way to walk in the light, buddy. Yeah. I told you, the White Cloaks will find the dark wherever they're going to find it. And every time you're on screen, Eamon Valda, you steal the show. I love it. I love to hate you. You are such an awesome asshole, and I love it. I love it. Sorry if that was a little vulgar, but it is what it is, man. Like, I hate to use a Game of Thrones comparison, but Littlefinger, I hated him and I loved it because he played it so well. Okay, no more comparisons. I love the casting in this show. I really, really do. I think it's fantastic. I think they really knocked it out of the park. And the next scene that we're going to go into really gets into that. But, so after the White Cloaks are kicking the crap out of the Tinkers, it's like some horrible beat down. Like, this is like, high school kids beating on like fifth graders over here. Like, stop. Like, you got to hit them with your lunchbox and shit. Like, you're putting your bag up to deflect the shot, and they're just like slapping them around. Like, if they really wanted to hurt them, they'd have hurt them. But, they're just like big bullies. Like, come on, they're a little bit like extreme big bullies, and so, but it buys Perrin and Egwene and Aram time to bust out the back door. GTFO protocol. They think they're out, and nope, bang! Aram gets like just clocked by this horse, knocked on his butt over into the corner, and then we get that nice shot that we saw so long ago in the little teaser trailer of Aram lying on the ground, who we figured out after meeting Aram that it was Aram lying on the ground with the three White Cloaks on horses around Perrin and Egwene. So we finally got to see that. And then we cut back over to Mr. Rand, who I think is getting out of the room trying to leave Matt alone because it's driving him nuts, and he's been on the road with him for a month. And finally they got a room, and there's a library. And what book is Rand looking at? But the Koreathan Cycle. I thought that was so awesome. That book is also known as the Prophecies of the Dragon. So I thought that was really cool. And then we hear this voice. And I knew who it was the second I heard the voice, and it brought the biggest smile to my face. And then he walked on screen, and my brain had a what the shit am I looking at moment. Like, my brain seized for a second. And so this was my first big downer of the show, that, like, I didn't like the way Loyal looked. It was just, it didn't match my head. I don't know why. I didn't, like, when I first saw him, I was like, what is going on? But it took seconds for, oh my God, I'm going to butcher his, I had it, Haman. I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. The actor that's playing Loyal. Holy crap. It took 2 seconds of the shock of what he looked like, 2 seconds for him to start talking, and, like, I got goosebumps thinking about Loyal. And he was Loyal like that. I mean, holy crap, did you sell that role? And my two complaints was I didn't get the blonde fro and I didn't think he was tall enough. But that was it. That was it. Like, I thought the face looked good. I would have had the longer eyebrows, and I don't understand the thing with the beards and goatees on people that don't have them. I mean, maybe it's just like a hipster modernizing it thing a little bit. I don't know. I don't care. After the shock of what he looked like, and whatever, that's what Loyal looks like. That's fine. It's not my headcanon, but hey, whatever. My brain had a trauma moment, but hey, like I said in the very first episode and deep dive in reviews, the Wheel of Time, it's got a lot of trauma. Even for us viewers. Even for us viewers. Not just for the characters. So my trauma moment was gone seconds after he started talking, and that was it. Like, I'm sold that he is loyal from every beat that went on from and the whole little I'm not an Aiel argument back and forth. Oh, an Aielman that's not an Aiel, that from the Two Rivers that insists he's not a, like that whole thing. Oh my God, it was just so brilliantly loyal. And you know, and then it gets cut because there's a commotion outside, and we realize, oh, they're bringing through the false dragon. They're getting ready to parade Logain through. Rand's like, hey, okay, I'm going, and Loyal wants to go with him. And in true Loyal fashion, I'm gonna take my time. Yes, Loyal. In my head, before I ever heard Michael Kramer or anybody ever do Loyal always was like the voice of Eeyore from like Winnie the Pooh in my head. All right, I'll go. Because they describe him as like a low rumble bumblebee sound. But man, this guy just nailed, like, the mannerisms, his grin, like, oh man, I was sold. Like, the shock wore off like that, you know, and I just thought it was great after that. His whole portrayal in the entire episode is just brilliant. Just brilliant. And again, I give it to the casting. Like, I would high five you, casting department. Again, I don't know. Like, they had thousands of people like audition for every one of these roles, and I don't know how they picked them or who picked them. And none of these characters, except maybe just Rand, off the top of my head, maybe Daniel Henney, I would have just picked like on just straight looks of, oh, hey, that's who I thought. And there was a whole lot of controversy, you know, when the casting went down and all this and that. And I don't care. I don't care about race, whatever. You know what I want? I want you to embody the character. That's what I care about. And like, and then you talk about gender switches and this and that for certain characters and stuff. Like, honestly, I don't care if you have a female warder or you can't have a male Aes Sedai because that just makes you a male channeler. But like, I don't care. Like, and one of the best examples in that of adaptation, because you had the original Battlestar Galactica, which had Apollo and Starbuck was a guy, and then the new one, which is not new, is many years old, but the remake of it ended up being this freaking epic sci-fi show. Fantastic. And everybody was in an uproar because Apollo or Starbuck was going to be a woman. Like, I don't care. Sell the role. That's what I want. And that's what I was hoping that they were not going to disappoint in the show because of all the things that were going to have to be cut and how streamlined. Like, 1 month later, at the beginning of the episode, like, come on, you just streamlined probably 4 chapters out of the book right there, you know, or, you know, a good long section right there. So I understand. I do. Just don't assassinate my characters, and whoever you get to play them, make me believe you're those characters. And so far, 99.9% of all the characters that they've cast for these roles are just killing it. Every one of them. Like, I have no complete. I think my one character casting complaint through the whole show so far was Bran Alvear, Egwene's dad. I think that was the only one that I didn't like. I liked everybody from the Two Rivers. I loved all of them, everybody that they had cast. I loved our town scene with Dana and Tom and like everybody in there. Like, I really think they've done a superb job with this. And Loyal, with the shock of how he looked to the way that he plays the character. I love it. I really like. I'm just as much of a fan of the show, and being in confused. Like, I'm confused now because I'm a book reader, and they're just swapping stuff around and moving stuff around. But you know what? They're telling a really fantastic, compelling story. Like, the last episode was none of it was from the books, but yet it felt, I think, the most like any of the episodes yet have felt like it just came from the books. And so they're really like, I knew this was going to happen. And in this scene right here, right through Tarvalon, where Rand had talked about what was going on, and the commotion starts, which has got me onto the side tangent. This is what I was saying about hitting their stride. Like, the Jordan books, the first book gets compared to Fellowship of the Ring constantly, which is very true. It has a lot of parallels. But then the second book in the series starts to 100% take you away from anything that was Tolkien. And then the third book, you're in the Wheel of Time's world, fully engrossed, fully realized, fully embodied. You've been to so many different places, and you realize this is its own living world, and this is very much its own story. And there's some things that they're putting together that haven't been in the books that are really sort of making it feel like that. And I thought that it was going to take a few episodes of it feeling clunky for readers, not necessarily for new viewers, because everybody that was a new viewer that didn't know anything about this story that I talked to about it loved what they were watching. They thought it was so great and cool and interesting, and they had all sorts of questions and theories. And that is brilliant. And it's moving it forward. And we're getting these little scenes that are coming from the books, and these things that were coming from the books. And then this scene right here where Rand and Matt are sitting on the balcony watching the procession come through. This is straight out of the books. It may not be where it was in the books, like it may have, like they've taken liberties, but this whole sequence it's right out of the books. It like in it, and it's done that way and in that fashion to kind of show the connection that they're trying to put in, because I feel as we're moving forward in the series, the more we move forward in the series, I think it's going to feel more like the books, regardless if it's what's coming directly out of the books. If you follow what I'm saying, I think it just took a couple episodes to set up the show, and now like the last episode and this episode, they really feel like they're from the books. In this next scene where they're parading Logain, it's almost straight out of the books, and the imagery and everything that was going on is fantastic. And it may not be exact, but it's drawn directly from it, directly from it. So they're giving us all this stuff. And I really feel as we move on and on and on down the road, it's just going to steamroll, and you're just going to get vested. And whether it's coming directly from the page of Robert Jordan, or if it's influenced by it or adapted from it, or it's a third party thing that's going on, or a secondhand source or a third party source, a story from a story, like the whole last episode, that whole thing, the war in Geldon, Logain's thing, none of that's in the books. You hear about it from other characters talking about it on the road. You're hearing stories from different people, like the boys talking about the war in Geldon, that you hear it in these secondhand ways. Like, it's cool that they're showing that. Like, I think it's really cool because it's moving the story forward in a very dynamic way for the new viewer. It really is. And then they're throwing moments like these right here in for the diehard book fans, like this whole parade of Logain. Now, my only question of this whole thing is, sorry, I just knocked the crap out of my bench right there. Well, where did the cage come from? Because Logain, he clearly melted the crap out of that thing in the last episode when he was like, yeah, okay, I'm done with your games. And he just goes, and you just watch the cage melt. So my only theory is on that, if he unmagicked the cage or magicked the cage apart, did they remagic a cage together to put them back in? Did they channel another one up? I think that's the only way you can justify it. Unless they had like a spare cage sitting around for like in case he ran into like another man that could channel. I don't know. Maybe that spare cage. Maybe they channeled one up. That was my only question about that scene. It was the only thing I thought was a little weird. And then the people throwing fruit. And then Logain sees the boys sitting up on the balcony and just starts maniacally laughing at them. It's just this hysterical laughter. And it looked like he was staring a lot more at Matt than Rand. And I just laughing and laughing and laughing. And then Matt and Rand have this great moment of, hey, man, like, if that's what happens and one of us can chant, he's like, do not let that happen to me. Absolutely not. And no, please. And he makes, Rand promises. And then he's like, would you do the same for me? And Matt just got yeah, sure. Like totally blows it off. And it's like, it's this like bipolar reaction that's going on with Matt. He's like all sincere and everything when it's like, hey, don't let me go out like that. And then Rand turns around and is all serious. And he's like, hey, man, don't let me go out there like that either. And he's like, yeah, okay, I got you. But like he was half listening. It was just like this, Matt. Yeah. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? So there was a scene when they were in the library that I wanted to mention. There was 2 books that I thought was really funny. I want to cut back to the Rand and Loial scene. I just thought about it real quick. I thought it was really funny that the first book he's reading is the Koreathan Cycle, the Prophecy of the Dragon, and then Loial is asking him about the adventures of Jane Farstrider. And I got laughing. I was hoping like a while back, I didn't want to like spoil it if they were going to like cut that book. It's like this weird book that's like a recurring book, like kind of like the recurring musical theme. It's like a book that like everybody's got. It's like if there's a bookshelf there, this book's on it. And it's just funny. And it just offers some great moments throughout the series. Like that just happen with like this book just happens to be around, or somebody's got it in their hand, or they're reading it, or it's on the shelf and it sparks up this great conversation, or, so I think it's really cool that they put that in there. I hope it's a recurring thing. Okay. I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was really cool. And and then it cuts to the procession and the Rand Matt conversation. And then we get the cut to the funeral Aes Sedai funeral rites, maybe. I thought like when they buried him, which was really shallow, they just kind of covered him in cloth. I didn't quite get that. It looked very stunning. And Steppen took the ring, her Karenna's ring. And he's all in white, and the warders, they're all trying to console him, because this is like the losing a warder, or the warder losing their Aes Sedai is such a heavy weight internally. It's like, losing a beloved family member. And they talk about the bond in the episode before where they say it's like it's deeper than family, it's deeper than blood, it's deeper than mothers and children and husbands and wives. And so when you lose, if an Aes Sedai loses a warder, or a warder loses an Aes Sedai, it's like this really heavy thing. And I thought it was really cool that they're showing this through the episode, and they're talking and they're trying to be lighthearted, and Steppen gives this really great story about how Karenna, I always say their names wrong, Karenna found him, and how he wasn't worthy, but she chose him. And it was this really great moment. and it shows that they don't always have to be the strongest warrior, the fastest warrior. There's just something that the Aes Sedai knows about the person that they're going to bond. There's already a connection there. So there's already a chemistry between the people. And then that bond just intensifies it. And I'm going to go on to that more later for the ending. I'm going to really kind of go into that. And, they're all trying to console them, and Alana's warders are there as well. And I imagine that these guys must have trained at the tower sort of together. Like they were like beginners together. Like when they were training to be warders at the tower, I imagine that was where they met. So I imagine that all four of these guys have known each other for many, many years, and they talk like they do, and they joke like they do, even if there's political maneuvering, but like with the Steppen and Karenni, like, I'm trying to pry information out of land is like getting information out of stone and saving them. Like, even if there's that kind of political maneuvering, they're still extremely good friends. And you see that between Moiraine and Alana, that the exchanges between them is great. And you see that chemistry, even though there's still the political maneuvering from the tower, whether it's between warder to warder or Aes Sedai, any of it. Like, you always have to, anytime somebody's saying anything in there, you have to assume that there's a second and third, maybe fourth meeting underneath it and different motives behind it. Like every time that you're dealing with anybody in the tower, like and Moiraine even says it to her, says it to Nynaeve in that conversation. And so Lan, trying to be Lan, and just like, he's just trying to console his friend, like, hey, maybe it would be easier if you let Alana bond you. And he has this moment where he's like, yeah, you lose Moiraine and you tell me how quick it is to move on to another woman, and has this great moment, and it shows the intensity of that bond. And I think that this was pretty key for kind of explaining a little more of the end of the episode. So we get Moiraine and Lan, and we don't have to really wait to the end of the episode to go into it, because it kind of cuts to that after this scene. It goes right to Moiraine sitting in her chambers and Lan coming in to console her. Like, they can feel each other through the bond. So he knows when she's sad. She knows when he's sad. And I think, like, because Lan in the books is very stony, and this is one of the only complaints that I've heard of any of this stuff on Lan, really, is we're getting too much emotion out of Lan. And I think that it's coming back through Moiraine, because there's just been the two of them for so long. Now they've even talked about it. Like, oh, it's been so long, you still call this place home. They've been away for so long. They've been on their own for so long, and they talk about it, that their companionship is home. That when they get around these other people they're good friends of theirs, and these traumatic things have happened, I think it's they've let their guard down a little bit, being on their own, emotionally, to their friends, and losing friends like this. Because Moiraine and Karenni, I'm sure, were good friends. Like, they didn't say that they were great friends. Oh, but I respect each other. So if we had more backstory, I'm sure, they admired each other greatly, whatever. But like, so the loop that's going on through the bond, like where Moiraine is sad about Karenni and Lan is, feeling it for Steppen, and just feeling the remorse, and the thing that I think Lan is showing, and I don't think this is makes him any less stony or steadfast or like demasculates him at all. And I'm going to go into this at the end, but I think what we're seeing is almost like what you get when you get a feedback loop going with like electronics, where you get and then it just starts getting out of control, and it gets to this unbearable sound where it starts looping on itself. And I think that's what we're starting to see from Moiraine and Lan here, is that she's upset and he's upset, and he's upset that she's upset, and vice versa. And I think it's starting to create a loop within them, which is getting them a little bit wound up. It really is. And then we cut to my favorite part of the whole episodes. This episode, anyway, I thought this the whole time with the White Cloaks and Egwene and Perrin was so incredible. It was just incredible. And Eamon Valdi, you make me hate you every time you're on screen. And Abdu Saleh, I love you for that. Like, oh my God. He's so casual about being so horrible. Really casual. And man, that like prison cleaning scrub down of Egwene was pretty uncomfortable to watch because those assholes looked like they were just loving what they were doing. Just like, yeah. And I don't know if they were just getting their rocks off on it or they're thinking whatever. Because like Valda is pretty sure she can channel her as an Aes Sedai. So I'm thinking that's already in their head. And yeah, they're being real dicks about it, man. Like that's like a scrub down in like bad prison when you go in and they delouse you and all that crap. Like that was just awful to watch. This whole sequence was awful to watch, but I couldn't like stop watching. If you follow me, I was just so engaged on it. Valda is such an evil asshole. It's so great. He's just casually eating, always talking with her. Oh yeah, to mound her hands and oh yeah, yeah. And the one moment in this scene was the whole scene where he's just staring at her deadpan with the knife in his hand and says, what did he say? It was what makes you think I'm a man that follows my oaths or sticks to my oaths? It was like this super powerful moment. Like, girl, you don't know me. And I'll kill you right now without a thought. And you just saw it in him. And it was just like, whoa. I told you, it was a heavy moment when he said that. But Egwene, oh my God, she's just unstoppable. So great. Just steadfast. And, and she's pleading with him. And I love that every time she calls him sir, he says, Child Valda, like I have no title. It's the light, and these guys are fanatics and holy cow, is he just selling it. Like every time he's on screen, he is a fantastic, fantastic villain. And he's supposed to be a good guy. Like, so he's a bad guy, but he's not really the bad guy. But God, he makes you freaking hate him. He's not good. He's not a good guy. I'll tell you that. Even though he's supposed to walk in the light. Yeah. I like to punch in your mouth every time I see you. But man, it just makes you just solidifies how good you're playing this role. Oh my Lord. Just amazing. Just amazing. I love it. And so then he just casually goes over and starts torturing Perrin while he's talking to Egwene. And Perrin is losing it, and bam, Perrin Golden Eyes. The first time. Oh, and he is crying. And there's a lot of blood. Thinking about the title. This is what makes me think this is the title. Just my thoughts, but when all this plays out. So he just goes on, starts carving into his back like it's that frickin' pig he was just cutting up on the table over there, like he's going to take a slice out and eat it. Just carving away, having a casual conversation. And he's like, hey, channel for me, huh? Come on, witch. I know you can channel. Come on. And it just plays it so great and nasty. And God, he's such a greaseball. I love it. I love it. It makes you just love to hate him. And then basically offers him a deal. Hey, channel for me, and I'll kill you and let him live, or don't, and I'll kill him and let you live. You guys work it out. And he ungags Perrin. You're just like, oh my God. You're like, what? This guy, holy cow. Every time he's on screen, he just steals the show. Just every time. Like, I can't I can't get enough of him. I love to hate the guy. I love to hate the guy. And it cuts back to Nynaeve and Stepan. And Stepan comes in and he asks for some of the sleeping powder made of like goat's tongue and makes this funny joke because it really made a goat's tongue. And Nynaeve said, no, it's a plant, and just kind of chuckles under her breath. I thought it was this really funny moment. And it's questionable because I like I said, I was in the military, and this guy just lost the best friend he's ever had. So you're on watch, and that's what Lan was trying to console him for, and that's what the guys are trying to console him for the whole, in that whole scene where they're in there talking about what he gives in the story of Karenni and how he became a warder. Like they're just trying to be your battle buddy. They're trying to be there for you, and this scene, this was portrayed so well, and I work with a lot of veterans. A lot of people have come back from a lot of places, and they didn't do very nice things or see very nice stuff, and it scars you, and it really does. And when you lose your best friends, and that's really traumatic, and a lot of people deal with it really well in the heat of the moment, but it's later on when you have those quiet moments like Stepan's talking about. He's like, yeah, I get ready to fall asleep, and then there's all that pain, and he's like, and it's all I have left, and he's got the bottle of booze, so he's pretty toasted, and he's talking about the sleep aid, and then hides the booze. This was my first clue, and of what eventually winds up happening throughout the episode. But excuse me. It was a really powerful moment for anybody that's ever been in the military and ever had friends that have come home, or even been a family member of somebody who's come home. If you've been in that situation, it's a lot like that. Like, you don't necessarily know what to say. You don't know what to do. They're hurting, and that nothing you say, nothing you do, no matter how heartfelt it's coming from you, is even going to be like close to a meaningful gesture to wash away any of that anguish. And I think that this whole order sequence, that if they're going to give us something new, that's not in the books, that's not secondhand knowledge, that is detracting from something that could have come from the books, this was one of the best ways that truly I feel that they could have done it. I think it was a real true nod to veterans, to anybody that served, anybody that's lost people to combat, to horrible things. I think all the scenes between the warders and Stepan, and personally, it really goes to show PTSD and the trauma that happens when you come home. Like, this is what they're all talking about. They finally come home. And now the reality of all things that have happened in that month that it took them to get there, it's finally having time to set in. And you see that in this conversation with them. And Nynaeve she's just so great. She's just so great. She, in her moment where she's comforting him when she says the pain never goes away. And it doesn't. And it doesn't. At least I've never experienced it to go away. You learn how to live with it in different ways. And I think that this was such a brilliant portrayal to that. And I think it was a wonderful nod to that. And that was kind of what I took out of this whole little arc that they gave us. That wasn't secondhand knowledge. It was just written for the show. And I think it really portrayed the bond between the warder and Aes Sedai really well. And I think it showed very well the trauma that goes on once you come home after experiencing horrific things and having to do horrific things. Like, you're not doing horrible things. You're doing them because you have to do that. It's you or the other person, you know. It's not like they're just going over the side and killing puppies and shit, you know. Like, it's not that. Like, you do horrible things in war. People do horrible things to one another for whatever your cause is. You're just a soldier on the field doing your job, and the other guy's out there and he's doing his job. And if you sat down under different circumstances, maybe you could all be real good friends. Maybe you go fishing together. Who knows? But I think they portrayed that in this episode really well. And to me, you know, support the troops. To me, that really hit home a lot. That was the really heavy, heartfelt thing that I took through this whole episode. And as it plays out, maybe I went into that a little early, but I don't care. I was just feeling it. This moment, I really think starts the from here. You see exactly what Steppen's plan was. You know, like, he had booze, which he was already intoxicated, and I'm sure he was going to finish that bottle, and then he was probably going to take the sleep aid to just put him out. I'm sure that's probably what his plan was when he talked to Nynaeve. And then he leaves. And, Lan had told him he's going to, he's like, hey, I'll stay with you. Don't worry, man. I'm with you. I'll be your battle buddy. And Lan is really just doing suicide watch is really all he's doing. And that's what that was. And so I think that I'm just going to go over this whole sequence now, and then we'll come back to other things, because this all ties together, and it's all the same. I don't think it matters if we say one part at the end. I want to put this whole thing together. And Lan was on suicide watch. That's what was going on, and it's a military thing. It's a veteran thing, and if you haven't been in that situation, I don't know how it played off for other people. And so then, and they're talking throughout the night, and they do have some really funny dialogue about, I've never been with a man. And then Lan has like the funniest comment of the entire episode. Lan, of all people, throwing the comedy in, kind of like his little, it could be warmer moment, like, which was like a little snarky moment to Moraine, but says, when he said, I never been with a man, he says, no, 2 men. I thought that was the funniest moment of the show right there, or the episode. I just died when I saw that, and I thought it was great. Their exchange was wonderful, man. Like, Lan's he was just like, look, man, I know, I understand what you're going through, even though I can never fully understand what you're feeling. I'm here for you in whatever capacity you need, man. We want to get drunk, let's get drunk. You want to, and then he makes him the tea. And when he handed it to Lan and I saw his tea, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew he was knocking him out. And I thought he was going to have hung himself. And he was going to find him in the room there when he woke up. But he's not there, and Lan goes out and he finds him right down at the end of the hallway, right there in the warders' corners. And I had you can't see it, but right there, that's a photo of a samurai from the late 1800s. And I studied a lot of sword fighting for a lot of years. I taught sword fighting for a couple. I haven't done it in a long time, so I probably look like Tam right now. That's why I thought that was so funny in that first episode. But getting back to the end scene here, as soon as I saw the way he was sitting on the floor, I knew what was coming, and it was a very samurai moment. I think that Steppen had felt that he failed where it was a samurai had failed his master. He had failed his Aes Sedai, and there was no greater shame. And I think that he just went out and basically committed seppuku, what a samurai would do, but didn't have a second to, remove his head and I think he just shoved it straight up and that was it. And Lan finds him, and Lan has that moment of I failed you, I failed you, and then it cuts to the scene between him and yeah. Well, it doesn't go there yet. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back, but that whole moment with that Lan had the true veteran buddy, like I failed you, like, and that's what I think upset Lan the most was not like it would be different if he had died in battle, if he had died fighting something else, but to know that like he was there and he fell for the tea and passed out. There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt that goes on to that. And yeah, it was just, it was really heavy. Like a lot of this entire episode, there was so much weight to this entire thing. Um, and then we had a couple more really great moments throughout the show. Sorry to be a little downer. This was just a little heavy. This was a really heavy episode for me personally. Like I just it resonated very well with my own personal experiences, um, and yeah, I thought it was great. I thought the writing was great, and it was a little bit slower, and it was more of an interlude episode where we had such an action packed couple episodes where it really built on some stuff. We got here to Tar Valon, and it slowed down a little bit. Though all the political maneuverings there, we get these great scenes with within the tower. Like, man, the architecture inside there is so beautiful. It was just so gorgeous. Every time anybody was in there, it was just wonderful. And we have a couple of real great interactions out there, like between Nynaeve and Liandrin, the political maneuvering, and between Moraine and Liandrin, and the political maneuvering right there. And you get a really wonderful moment with Alana and Moraine, where they're sitting in Moraine's room, and my beef was, don't put your don't put your feet on the bed, take your shoes off. But anyway, the conversation they have was very playful and fun and friendly, but it also played there all the Aes Sedai politics in it. You know, there's maneuvering. Even though we're friends, I'm still maneuvering. And, you know, and Alana even says to her, you know, one day you're going to have to let people in on your secrets, man, or it's just going to eat you up. You know, you got to let somebody in. You have to. And so I thought there was a lot of really cool just dialogue and slower moments in this episode that I thought had a lot of weight and a lot of great meaning. Like, Liandrin, you're such a persnippety bitch. Oh, you make me want to smack you. Like when she talks about the persimmons and brushes Moraine's hair back, like, man, I'll slap you across your freaking mouth. And it's just it's just the actress playing the role, and it's just, oh, they just kill it. They're just killing it. But yeah, there's these so many great moments with all these beautiful Aes Sedai politics moments that, you know, that are just lovely. Like, you know, we don't get a lot of stuff like that. We don't get a lot of slow. We haven't had a lot of the Aes Sedai politics because all we had was Moraine for quite a few episodes, and now that we're seeing them all together, we really are getting to see the maneuvering. And all you Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire fans, oh, the maneuvering has just begun, and it's so fantastic. It is so fantastic. And that shot of Tar Valon at night, oh, man, like every one of these, like I'm gonna put my 10 favorite shots together over the course. But I'm waiting until the season's done, because this list is going to change. It keeps changing every episode of what my favorite shot is, or what I like the best, or these little things. Yeah, so that little weird flirty talk between Alana and Moraine was pretty good too. That was pretty good. That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. And then, you know, and then the show cuts into the funny Lan and Steppen part from here, but we covered that, and my theory and my feelings on that, and then that we had the Warder funeral, which was very interesting. And I thought I'm going to go into that thing that I was talking about before with Moraine and Lan. You have the one orator, the guy who's giving the rights, and this would be like like a military sort of thing as well. It's it's very solemn, like you have your 21 gun salute where you have 7 guys that crack off 3 rounds each, and so you get your salute, and that the whole chest beating, and when he says, "Lan, grieve for us," like you're the one that has to grieve for all of us, so go down and just let out whatever is inside. And that was a really cool like this whole sequence with the chest beating and what he had said and the way that he said it, grieve for all of us, or let your grief speak for all of us. However he said, I can't even remember exactly how he worded it, but it was like, okay, your pain right now is going to speak for all of us. And the chest pounding starts, and Lan like lets out this scream, and you can see it on Moraine's face that she is just feeling what he's feeling. And I think she's feeding back into him that she is so sorry, and it's just feeding Lan more, and the pain, it just keeps increasing, and it's increasing through her and increasing through him, and she starts beating her chest. And then you have Nynaeve, who's just witnessing all of this, and like she doesn't know what to say, just like almost in tears, just. And then Lan lets out like the roar of the heavens. It was like one of the screams of all of cinema right there. This yell he lets out. I mean, just pain, and then cut. Like, oh, holy cow, man! Holy Debbie Downer, Jesus! He just like kicked me in the heart to leave me for a week. Now I got to sit here and I got to feel this way for a week coming out of that. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe I got to go watch something funny. I got to go watch some comedy or something. Like, holy cow. It was like, this was just such a heavy episode. I thought it was so brilliant and had so many wonderful spots in it. And Nynaeve's conversation with Rand and all that. But I didn't go into my favorite part of the episode because I wanted to save it for the very end and skipped over it on purpose. Oh, I've been waiting. I'm a big Perrin fan from the book. I don't like what he does all the time. I don't like all his decisions, but I'm a huge fan of Perrin in the books. And the first scene, Mr. Eamon Valdez carving him up like that roast pig, we get the first scene of Mr. Perrin Golden Eyes. And I saved this for the end because it's my favorite part of the entire episode. And I think it explains the title. It's Blood Calls Blood. So we've seen that Perrin has something going on with the wolves already. Us readers, we know exactly what it is. But viewers, for the show, we know something's going on. And when Valda cuts his back the first time and his eyes go gold, that's our very first scene of Perrin Golden Eyes. And I thought that was so intensely cool. And it was just a flash, and he is screaming. And that's when I think he called the wolves. I think when he was screaming, he was praying for help. Whatever, we don't hear the inner monologue in his head. And I'm sure he was praying to whatever God he was praying to. Whatever God you pray to. Moments like that, that's what happens. You can say you don't believe in God, but man, in those moments of sheer terror, you say what you want, but I don't know what you believe in, but people become real spiritual in those moments. And I think Perrin called the wolves. That's what I think. And then when Valda gave him the time to talk about it, and they have their conversation, and he fully admits to Egwene that, no, like when he admitted before and he said, hey, it was my fault, when she had said, it's not your fault, and he said, it is. He didn't really admit it. He sort of admitted it. And this is that conversation, a couple episodes that I was talking about in the review there, that I wanted to see happen. this was that weighty moment, and this was a heavy episode. So why not throw it in here? Because this is where we need to have it, because this is a heavy episode. You're going to bring us here? Well, let's have it here. And man, he breaks down and says, let him kill me. Let him kill me. It's my fault. I killed my wife. I was fighting the Trollocs. I heard another one and I killed her. I did it. It wasn't them. It was me. And Egwene, you just see it in her, and she's just like, oh, I'm so sorry, Perrin. Like, I know it wasn't your fault. You didn't just do it. You know, you weren't off killing puppies, buddy. You weren't. It was a moment of sheer violence, and it happened. It was one of those super trauma moments. And I'm glad that it came out here, and that conversation came out here in that let him kill me moment. And you see it in Egwene, and she's just like, when Valda comes back in, he's like, oh, have we decided? Oh, I should just run like a 30-second long beep so I can let out the beautiful string of profanity that I want to lay out every time Valda comes on screen. So anyway, he comes in and very poetically comes back in, and he just starts going nuts on stuff. Just starts going nuts on these guys about, oh, I'm okay. I hope you've decided, because I'm about to kill you. And yeah, and then, you know, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to kill him then. And so he goes over and starts cutting on, and Egwene saying, no, you're not going to die for this. And starts to challenge, starts, you know, trying to calm down, like, relax, you know, go with the flow, embrace the, you know, whatever it is. She was chanting embrace, whatever, showing perfect Egwene. Straight from the, like, books. This is Egwene. This is the feels of Egwene right here. Yo, you ain't going to kill my buddy. And she channels fire and throws the fireball at his chest, and I was like, yeah! And it just, and hits the floor. And I just died. I was like, oh my God, that's just so great. And Valda like, yeah, it's going to take a little more than that. And oh my God, just brilliant. And while he's saying that, she's burning Perrin's bonds loose, and he's in full on Golden Eyes mode right now, and just stands up, and you see Perrin the Beast get ready. He's ready to frickin' smite Valda, and Valda just shows sheer terror, screaming, what are you? What are you? And then my girl Egwene, drive that frickin' knife right down into his shoulder. I don't think she killed him with it. However, I do think she masked him up pretty good. He ain't going to forget that one. He's going to feel it for a while. And those wolves start going crazy. The minute that he starts cutting into his back and this whole channeling thing starts, you listen, you hear the wolves going nuts outside. And they are just tearing into people. They're ripping through. And when the one white cloak tries to stop them on their way out, he's like, hey! And the wolf comes out. He's like, yo, I got you, bud. It just rips that white cloak to the ground and just mauls them. It's like, I got you back, yo. And we got this one wolf over here growling, snapping at me. And he's like, yeah, he ain't going to hurt you. Yeah, Perrin. Oh, and they make their way out. And, yeah, I just, oh, my Lord. I thought that whole thing was so epic, and I wanted to save it for the end because I think it really, I think that's what titled I don't think it had to do with the warders, but blood calls blood. I don't think it had, maybe it had to do with the death of the Aes Sedai and the warder sort of samurai failed my master seppuku moment. Maybe that's what it called it. Maybe that's why it calls blood calls blood. But I really think that it had to do with Perrin being filleted like a freaking roast pork, screaming and crying out. I think he called the wolves. And then in the second sequence, when they cut him again, that's when they just said no, no. And he went full on Golden Eyes right there. And I can't wait to see more. Can't wait to see more. Oh, viewers, I'm going to leave you there. This was, again, a really heavy episode, guys. It was really good. I don't know if it was my favorite episode. I thought a lot of the dialogue was some of the best, and the best that we've gotten yet, truly, except for maybe some of the Tom and Ran and Matt moments with them, with Tom. I thought some of this was some of the best dialogue that we've had yet. As far as being serious, and it gave a lot of exposition, and it gave a lot of different stuff when, Moraine talking about you're going to have to become a novice, like they're introducing you to what's going to happen in the tower. Seeing the tower for the first time. Oh my God, there were so many firsts in this. Seeing the tower for the first time, seeing Loyal for the first time. And again, after my shock of, hey, what am I looking at? And it, like, again, 2 seconds in, man, I totally buy it. It's Loyal. And for the show, like, I'm into the show, guys. I love it. I thought this was a really heavy episode. I thought it was really good. I don't know if it was my favorite episode, but I definitely rate it really, really high up there. I'm not doing a number rating system of star. I don't care. I don't listen to ratings. I don't ever listen to critics because I just watch something. You tell me it's terrible, and I'm going to go watch it and see what I get out of it and judge for myself. And I'm glad I did that, and I didn't listen to the naysayers. Like, I read some of their stuff, but I don't let that stuff bother me. I like going in and giving myself, like, just a blank slate. Like I said in that little review, I leave my books on the shelf. They're right there. If I want to go read them, they're right there. And they're there whenever I want them. However, if I want to watch The Wheel of Time, I got to wait for week to week. So until next week, guys, we're going to wait for episode 6, which I've heard rumors about, and I'm not going to give any rumors away, but multiple people of worthy repute have said it is their favorite of the entire season. So I'm expecting quite a good episode. I don't know what's in it fully. I have seen a couple still shots, and that's it. And I'm not even going to speculate. I won't go there. We're going to all have to stay with that heavy heart of that last episode. Till next week, guys. I will see you next time. This is G and G on Watt.